Welcome to a brief historical overview of John Adams, his life and his early political career. Throughout the video, I'll be going over his early life and childhood, his education and early career, what he did during the Revolution, such as the Declaration of Independence, and what pretty much his reputation was. His time as the president, also his policy will be included with that. What he did after this presidency or retirement, and I'll also give a conclusion, which I will be giving as an opinion of what I think he is or how he did during that time. John Adams was born on October 30th, 1735, in Quincy, Massachusetts. His parents were John Adams and Susanna Bolston, or Susanna Adams. For the most part, growing up, he did not have an unstable childhood. His dad, being a minister, shoemaker, and farmer, but mostly shoemaker and farmer, was financially stable, and throughout his life, they did not end up in poverty. I would say, though there's not much to be said about his early childhood, I would contribute a lot of how it was to how he became later on in his life. Growing up, John Adams proved to be very intelligent, and in turn, his intelligence granted him a spot in Harvard University. Since his dad was a minister, he too was encouraged to be a minister also. So in 1755, after studying ministry, he graduated from Harvard University. The few years following, he became an English teacher in Worcester, Massachusetts, though, however, a few years after that, he met up with James Putnam and studied law under his guidance. For the rest of his life and career, he would end up being in the law field, being admitted into the Massachusetts bar early on. In my opinion, I would say that his law was much better suited to him since he was an outstanding debater and his intelligence contributed much to his success in the career. As I've said previously, John Adams has worked several jobs before he became a political figure. Least notably, and least important in my opinion, he worked as a school teacher in Worcester, Massachusetts for a few years upon graduating college. After that, he became enlisted in the Massachusetts bar and worked in the law field until he became president. It was from this job, being in the Massachusetts bar, that I feel that he learned most of his debating skills and is how he got a lot of his prominence during the times of the Continental Congress. During the times leading up to the Revolution, John Adams quickly became notable for his anti-British views and his strong support for America to become a free nation. Through his notoriety, he ended up getting elected along with his cousin Samuel Adams as a delegate for Massachusetts in the First Continental Congress. Through the Continental Congress, he met Thomas Jefferson, with whom he later became good friends with and allies during the Revolution, as they had similar political views. Though also through the Continental Congress, he became one of the most vocal members and was an essential part in getting the Declaration of Independence developed and a plan to break away from British tyranny. During the mid to late stages of the Revolution, John Adams was most notable for his work on the Declaration of Independence. His largest part in that would be assigning Thomas Jefferson as the person to draft it, and he would also come in as one of the last signatures to get it ratified in July 4, 1776. Additionally, he also helped in making the Continental Army and assigning George Washington as its leader. Along with that, he was also a delegate to France and was a large part in having France as an ally to America during the Revolutionary War. Along with that, he also wrote many writings in support of a constitution and laid the framework for what would be the Constitution in 1789. After the Revolution, John Adams ended up being a large part of development of the foreign policy of America. Though it was very reminiscent to what he had developed during the Revolution, it was still relevant and ended up being used for about another 100 years. A big example of that would be its alliance with France. France was a big part during the Revolution and still was a big ally afterwards. He believed that if they could keep them as an ally, they could be used as a deterrent for future invasion. Another thing would be neutrality, as they did not want other wars, and it would be better to stay neutral with Europe rather to clash with them. Additionally, he served with Benjamin Franklin as a delegate to France, which further strengthened their alliance. He also served as the first U.S. ambassador to Great Britain, which did not yield too much, but it was also a notable part in his career. And most notably, he was the first vice president, serving under George Washington as the first president. He remarked that during that, it was one of the most useless positions that he's ever worked in. After winning narrowly against Thomas Jefferson, John Adams would be elected America's second president. Though it may be the most notable part of his career, it would probably be where least things were done by him, and I would say, in my own opinion, where he did very little. As I said, during John Adams' presidency, he has done very little. The same can be said about his policy. When transitioning into the presidency, he changed about nothing from George Washington, and along with that, kept his cabinet. Overall, I would say he had done very little in that regard also. After leaving the presidency, most of John Adams' retirement was made up of reconciling with Thomas Jefferson through various letters where they got to know each other and explain themselves. Overall, I would say this was more of his redemption compared to what he had done during his presidency. To conclude, John Adams was overall a pretty decent person. I'd say his best moments were during the Revolution, and his talent was really well expressed during that time. Though during his presidency, I feel that he was not well expressed and could have done slightly better. He still does earn his spot as founding father, though.